Yesterday, a Newsmax interview with Donald Trump dropped that may just be, no exaggeration, no clickbait in action here, maybe the most batshit crazy, wall-to-wall, bell-to-bell, insane thing that's ever been posted on the internet. From a president and a news outlet. From an official interview with the President of the United States of America. Ring the alarm bells. Batshit. From firing the labor statistics commissioner to talking about what I'm going to talk about right now, I guess. I don't know if you've seen the ad, the American Eagle ad. I don't know. I don't wear their jeans. I don't wear their clothing, so I'm not real familiar. I know that they're kind of a mall store. And it features Sydney Sweeney. And she is scantily clad like she is in, most of the things that she does. And she's talking about her jeans, her good jeans. And they're obviously drawing a parallel. They're intending for this to be that she is beautiful and blonde hair and blue eyes and buxom, and that she has good genes, as in genetics, as in eugenics. In this day and age, look, if this ad had come out 15 years ago or so, it might be different. It might be received differently. But we're in an era in American politics and American history when Nazis are in control of the government. People who talk about genes all the time, like Donald Trump, are in it for this. They love it. The Stephen Millers of the world. White supremacy is taking hold in America under color of law once again more strongly than we've seen in a couple of generations. So it's intentional. I believe it's intentional. You may not agree, but I believe it's intentional. I don't think these things come around by accident. It's not just out there in the ether and then, whoa, they just happened to do this weird ad about genetics and its genes. And it's someone who looks like Sydney Sweeney, who communicates to a portion of the electorate like she does, whether implicitly or explicitly. And there's also this entire talk about the birth rates, which is it's coded as white birth rates. And this is where I'm going to begin. This first clip with this Finnerty, I think his name is, this host on Newsmax who's interviewing Donald Trump. And he starts the question asking about low birth rates. Your administration has been very open about the fact that American women are not having enough babies. And then he pivots to ask a question about this ad with no through line. There's no connectivity whatsoever between having babies and an ad for blue jeans, for denim, except for the fact that she's a sexy white lady with big tits and blue eyes and blonde hair. I guess she has sex appeal. And so that's the implicit takeaway, is that dudes want to have sex with Sydney Sweeney and then impregnate her, and then she can have a bunch of pure Aryan babies or something. I don't know. But this interview was also very sexualizing of women, including his press secretary, where he talked about, the lips, her lips, the way her lips move. Oh, fucking gross and weird. And I don't know, but I tell you what, let's start with the Sydney Sweeney garbage, and then we'll move on to him getting super creepy about Karoline Leavitt.
Your administration has been very open about the fact that American women are not having enough babies. We know that you have addressed this. There was an ad this week. Sydney Sweeney, an actress, was in an ad for blue jeans. Yeah. The ad is doing very well. It's very popular. The jeans are sold out. Does America need to see more ads like that and maybe fewer ads with people like Dylan Mulvaney on the cover?
Well, I think the Dylan Mulvaney ad was perhaps the most unsuccessful ad in history. It knocked $35 billion off the value of a certain company. You know what I'm talking about. That was one of the great disasters of all time. I would say it's probably the most unsuccessful ad, worst ad ever. Advertising's a very funny thing. I've done ads where I thought they were lousy and they turned out to be iconic. And then I've done some that I thought were beauties, they're going to be fantastic, and they weren't so good. So to each his own. But the Dylan Mulvaney ad was a total disaster.
So not only does this question serve to forward the birth rate idea, the white genocide idea, the white supremacy idea, that we're not having enough white children in this country. Oh, the brown people are poisoning the blood of our nation, the vermin. All of this Nazi rhetoric that's just being replayed. Not only does it include that, it also is an attack on trans people. Juxtaposing Sydney Sweeney against Dylan Mulvaney. It's obvious what they're doing here. Notice there was no answer or any deliverable there about having babies and the birth rate. It was just an effort to gin up, go into, delve into, dive into, tread into, wade into the conspiracy or the controversy surrounding the racist ad while sexualizing women. Because that, to conservatives, is the value of the ladies. That's your value to a conservative. Can you have babies and can you look good while doing so? That's why MAGA World has a certain look about them in Mar-a-Lago. It's all an attempt to capture the magic of youth and to retain whatever level of approval from the men, the gaze of men, which is relentless, apparently, in Republican circles, because this question that was just about, man, your press secretary is really doing a good job. You should be proud of her. How is she to have her as a warrior on your team? That's kind of the tenor of the question that you're getting ready to hear. And the answer just, I brief, but went just off the rails.
Answer this. I didn't realize she'd be in the room, but she's on my list. Karoline Leavitt.
She's become a star. It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun. Is she in the room?
She's in the room.
She's a star, and she's great. She's a great person, actually, but she's, I don't think anybody has ever had a better press secretary than Karoline. She's been amazing.
Mr. President.
She's in the room, and he's on TV, and that's the way he talks. How does he treat her when there's not a camera on? She's become a star. It's that face. It's those lips. The way they move. What are we doing here? This is the President of the United States of America sexualizing, obsessing on the woman he chose to be his press secretary. And now it makes you wonder, well, why did he choose her? Now you know. It's the way her lips move. This is all gross, and it all dovetails into all of the weakness of the Republican ideology about everything, about masculinity, the obsession with testosterone. A couple of years ago, when Tucker Carlson still had a job, they were talking about people who were suntanning their ball sacks and their taints, obsessed with testosterone, obsessed with other dudes' sperm counts. It's all just weird and creepy, unsettling, racist, eugenicists, white supremacy, misogyny. It's just an unholy amalgam of gross shit led by, fueled by the leader of the cult, Donald Trump, giving people permission to be the worst, absolute worst versions of themselves and be proud of it. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have a dialogue in the comments. I would appreciate that. It helps the algorithm to share this content, all that stuff. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at Dollemore.com. Make sure that you're subscribed. If you are not, if you think you are, just check. Some people get unsubscribed. I don't know how it works. I barely know how this works. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another. It is amazing to me, remarkable to me, that with all of the talk, with all of the continuing conversation about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and their crimes, not just against humanity, but against children, that when Donald Trump opens up his fucking mouth and talks about this matter, it's not them who are evil. It's not Jeffrey Epstein. He never gets called evil. He gets called a creep, I guess once or twice by Donald Trump. But Ghislaine Maxwell, no, he wishes her well. When Donald Trump saves that type of vitriolic language and venom about being evil, he talks about Democrats who want the Epstein files released. When he talks about people being stupid or dupes or whatever he's talked about, he saves that kind of language for his base who want the Epstein files released. It should be illuminating to Republicans who are still hanging on to some kind of a hope, some glimmer of hope that Donald Trump doesn't or hasn't. Because as each day passes, I am more and more certain that that is the case. Because otherwise, why fight so diligently to not release the Epstein files, to not release this information that you claim, especially in this first clip, that you claim you want released? More than anything, I want all the details out there in the public. So says Donald Trump. So says Mike Johnson. But then they never release them. Well, we want them released. We want the truth to come out. Then do it. You got the power. You're in power. Do it. But here is Donald Trump, while waxing desirous of the release of this information, he's denigrating Hillary Clinton and other Democrats, and none of it makes any sense. But just know we are evil, and Jeffrey Epstein, he's a terrific fella.
First of all, the files were run by some very bad people and very sick people like Comey and Lisa, the whole group, all those people in that office. They ran those files for 4 years. And if they were going to use the files, they would have used it before my election. Right. Because unless they're stupid, which to a certain extent they are stupid.
You're saying they would have released the information?
Well, they had the files. They control the files. Yes. I didn't control the files. They control the files for 4 years. So if they had something, they would have released it before the election. Because they are not geniuses, but, they're evil. Right. There are a lot of evil people. So I can't really tell you much other than Todd went in, and I think he just wants to make sure that innocent people aren't hurt. But you'd have to speak to him about it.
Okay. I want to ask you about this.
So the files that were fraudulently created to harm Donald Trump don't contain anything. Otherwise, they would have been released. That's what he's saying. There's nothing there, so why not release them? Why not release these fake files, these fraudulently created files that were meant to hurt you, that were created with the sole intent of harming Donald Trump? Why not release them if there's nothing there? By your own account, Donald Trump. These evil people who have done this. Same interview. Moments separate what I'm getting ready to play for you and that moment that you just watched. He's talking about evil Hillary Clinton, yet when given the prospect, given the question, posed the question to him about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, who is a convicted facilitator of sex-trafficked children, he leaves it open for pardon. She's not evil. She deserves justice and clemency from the system. But Hillary Clinton is evil. She needs to be punished. She needs to pay the price, they're saying, which is the next video I'm going to do. But Ghislaine Maxwell, she needs the mercy of the Department of Justice. She's not evil. She's maybe even a victim. Watch this.
Let me ask you, Mr. President, just about pardons. I've got 3 names for you. And the first one, look, the media didn't care about this story when Joe Biden was in office. Suddenly they care about this story
Right.
again. Ghislaine Maxwell serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking. Is clemency on the table for her in exchange for testimony?
I'm allowed to do it, but nobody's asked me to do it. I know nothing about it. I don't know anything about the case, but I know I have the right to do it. I have the right to give pardons. I've given pardons to people before, but nobody's even asked me to do it.
We know you've given pardons before, brother. Trust us, we know. Roger Stone knows. Rick Gates knows. Paul Manafort knows. 1,600 insurrectionists who attempted to overthrow the United States government violently. They know that you can issue pardons. We know anybody who even have a cursory understanding of the Constitution of the United States, or those of us who actually take our oath to it seriously, know that you have been granted this power by the Constitution. You don't need to keep reinforcing that you have the, I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to do it. We know, dumb f***. We know. It's, are you going to do it? The curious thing here is that really, it cements in my mind, or at least it's cementing in my mind, that Donald Trump is going to do it. Whether it be clemency or a full pardon, it's gonna happen, because this language that he's using, talking about I'm allowed to do it, I don't know anything about it, no one's come to me yet, I don't know. He's done this before with other pardons that ultimately he pardoned. Mike Flynn, his disgraced former national security advisor, who was having secret conversations with Russia before Donald Trump was even president, who was an unregistered foreign agent, who has talked about, we need a Myanmar-style coup here in the United States. Those are words coming out of his mouth. That guy got a pardon. And Donald Trump used this same kind of language when talking about it before he did it. So just know, in the mind of Donald Trump, in the mind of so many MAGA Americans, Hillary Clinton is evil, and Jeffrey Epstein's a terrific guy. James Comey is a dangerous character. People who do my job are dangerous, evil people. But Ghislaine Maxwell, yeah, he's allowed to pardon her. Is he going to get away with this? Maybe that's the overarching question that I would ask you. The push that you're seeing right now for an arrest, for jailing, for imprisoning Hillary Clinton, who hasn't been in the public eye for 10 years, almost 10 years since Hillary Clinton went away and was taking her walks in the woods and shit. And they're now dragging her back. They're now bringing Obama back into the conversation. And James Comey, who's been a private citizen for, nearly a decade. And they're doing this as a distraction. But, and here's the theory, and it's a pretty cemented theory, pretty secure theory here, because we got all the receipts and the evidence. This is a coordinated effort on the part of conservatives writ large, but also elected leaders, to distract from Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's involvement and his nearly 2-decade-long best friendship with a child a of children. I don't know. I don't know any of those. I am not friends with anybody of that caliber of character. I don't talk about not going to Jeffrey Epstein's rape island as though I didn't have the privilege of being invited, like Donald Trump does. This is a different class of individual who talk like this. And Donald Trump right now, in an effort to distract, is now bringing Hillary Clinton back and talking about how she should pay the price, which you'll remember, I'm going to play it at the end here, from last week when James Comr used that exact curious language. And they're enlisting people like Megyn Kelly and others in conservative media to also push this, that Hillary Clinton should be in jail, should be behind bars. It's all a distraction because they never say for what. It's just, oh yeah, lock her up It's gaining more momentum now that Donald Trump is kind of an unfettered dictator type with absolute immunity from prosecution while president of the United States, thanks to our MAGA Supreme Court, 3 of whom were appointed by Donald Trump. It's all just an incestuous conservative pile. Just gross. Anyway, watch Donald Trump, how he's talking about Hillary Clinton here, and there will be a through line.
These new emails, Mr. President, suggest essentially that Hillary Clinton personally approved the Russia hoax.
With Obama.
With Barack Obama. And my question is she finally going to pay for what she did, or does she get a pass again?
So, we had her, and I had her right under the sights, and I told the people, look, you can't do this to a president's wife, an ex-president, and she was Secretary of State, right. But you can't do this to the wife of a president. And
do you still feel that way?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel about it in a sec. If you remember, I was at a rally, and it was after the election, and they said, lock her up, and I said, no, look, we won, just relax. And I didn't do what other people would have done, what they would have done. And then they went after me, and they meant it. I said, it's amazing. I always felt that you shouldn't be doing this stuff, and I let Hillary off the hook. I totally left her off the hook. And then I let her off the hook for what? And then I come in and they did the same thing to me. The difference is they actually meant it. And they hurt a lot of people, and it was all a hoax. And now they have it in black and white. No, I think they should pay a price.
How directly?
By the way, it's a very big price. It could be the biggest scandal in the history of our country, but it continues onward. And that continues onward. That scandal has continued.
So you may be asking, well, why is it, Jesse? This is you asking me. So listen, Jesse, why would you? Why you might be asking yourself, why is it that I think that this is just some kind of a concerted effort to distract? And it is because Obama brings special energy to MAGA. Hillary Clinton is a special kind of villain in the minds of Republicans and conservatives. Bill Clinton, he occupies that same kind of space. So the list of characters that have been foisted into the ether as a special kind of evil, they're bringing back. Hillary Clinton is not in power, does not hold elected office, and never will again. Same with Barack Obama, same with Bill Clinton, same with James Comey, same with John Brennan, same with James Clapper, same with Susan Rice. These people aren't even public figures anymore, effectively. And Donald Trump is talking about paying the price. They need to pay the price. And they've enlisted people in the conservative media sphere. Here's a brief clip, 38, 39, 45 seconds of just an absolute sellout charlatan, Megyn Kelly, voicing this same thing using similar language.
This woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset.
Notice there's never any specificity whatsoever. They're just clinging on to whispers of conspiracy theory. And you're going to start hearing more of it because the uptick has just begun. Last week, James Comr was on with Laura Ingraham, and he was using the exact same language, precisely the identical words to Donald Trump that you just heard him speak.
Look, I knew all along that the Democrats would try to destroy any evidence that would make them liable in this Russia hoax. We knew it was a Russia hoax. Fox knew it was a Russia hoax. You did a great job, Laura, reporting the facts about this Russia hoax. Now Kash Patel, who, by the way, is the right guy for the job, he's in there. We've got John Radcliffe in there, Tulsi Gabbard's in there. They're all trying to get the truth to the American people and hold people accountable. It's not just about the fact that we've proven they lied all along to try to hurt Donald Trump and destroy his presidential campaign. It's about the fact that they've lost confidence. We've lost confidence in the intelligence community. We have competent people in there now. We want them to pay a price. We want the Comys and the Brennans and those guys to pay a price for what they did. It's illegal, it's wrong, and they need to be held accountable. And I think Kash Patel is on the right track, and God bless Kash Patel and John Radcliffe.
So Donald Trump says, I think they should pay a price. And by the way, a very big price. James Comr, 2 days before, maybe actually the same day, I don't know when this Newsmax article was filmed, was conducted. It was aired yesterday, but it could have been the same day. There is a coordination being done right now. If you think it's out of the realm of possibility that Hillary Clinton, that Megyn Kelly was not on the phone with Donald Trump, was not on the phone with the White House messaging people, and that James Comr is not in direct communication with, coordinating on messaging with the White House, you're a little naive. I don't believe you are. I think it's obvious, the rhetorical device I'm using here. It's clear there's coordination here. They're all landing on the same exact words. When's the last time you heard somebody talking about somebody paying a price? Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this very important conversation. We need to keep our eyes open, our ears open, to understand what is taking place. I hope you're ready. Comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. If you find value in what I do on a video by video basis, if you appreciate my work, I would very much thank you for considering supporting what we do here, helping to produce what we do here through $2 a month. You can become a channel member by clicking the join button on YouTube. Below the video, you can also go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support there. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. Get some rest. Take care of yourself. Self-care, very important in these times. But steel yourself for the fight. So yesterday, the jobs report came out, and it was not as good as Donald Trump hoped it would be. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. It just was kind of on line with what a lot of people have expected to come down the pike after Donald Trump's damage to the economy, the world economy, the United States economy. I mean, the stock market crashed when Donald Trump announced Liberation Day. That wasn't because of someone in the government. That was because of him. He couldn't blame the commissioner, the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, on that one, because that's all him. And so now that there's some downstream impact from his tariff debacle, he's blaming everybody else, firing a woman, a 20-year veteran of the United States federal government in a high-level role, who was appointed by, we're going to get to this, but appointed by a president and confirmed by the Senate, one of whom voted yes for her was J.D. Vance. This is Donald Trump talking about having fired her yesterday because I didn't like the numbers. But we know Donald Trump is not a numbers guy, so it doesn't matter what he doesn't like or what he knows. He's a dipshit.
Why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong. Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala. And she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are.
And then during the Newsmax interview yesterday, he was asked about this, and he had this to say, expounding just a little bit more than he did on the White House grounds.
The jobs numbers came out this morning. I guess they were lower than expected, but you've announced that you're firing your a Biden appointee, the head of the Bureau of Labor, and Statistics. Her name, Dr. Erica McIntarfer. Tell us about what was going on here.
Well, it's a Biden appointee, and we've had problems in the past, and we had problems even before the election. You remember those wonderful results that were put out just before the election, and everybody said, where do they come from? Then I think they adjusted it after the election, and we had some difficulties with her, and there have been a lot of questions, and we fired her because we didn't believe the numbers today. Even though interest rates are too high, we have a terrible head of the Fed who keeps interest rates too high. I could understand that, but I don't believe those numbers. I think because we're doing so well, and we fired her. This is not something from just now. This was before the election, where she got, meaning Kamala. We thought it was Biden, but turned out being Kamala, where they got very, very strong numbers. I said, what's this all about? And they adjusted them, and then later on they adjust them, I guess, downward. But we don't want that. We want straight numbers.
And look, with any story like this, there's a whole bunch of moving parts. Yesterday, watching CNN, Aaron Burnett went through and kind of broke down some of the more fast-moving parts and the things that add color to this story. And I want to share this with you before moving on, where Donald Trump just gives up the game that these numbers are real. They haven't been tampered with. That he fired her just because he's firing the messenger. He's trying to fire the bad news, so to speak. Here you go.
And here are some more facts. Erica McIntarfer is a 20-year U.S. government veteran. She was confirmed to run the BLS by the Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support. Senator J.D. Vance at the time, of course, backed her, voted for her. And to be clear, her termination tonight is for political reasons. There's no evidence the jobs numbers were manipulated as Trump is claiming. There's no one credible or serious who's saying any such thing. Today's report was bad. It did show bad numbers, not because the numbers were cooked, but because there was weakening in the economy. In large part, over that 3-month period, with all the uncertainty and the constantly changing tariffs and threat of 160% tariffs at some point, because of the tariffs. And the chief global strategist at Principal Asset Management sums it up by writing this: the downward revisions to the past 2 months inflicts a major blow to the picture of labor market robustness. What's more concerning is that with the negative impact of tariffs only just starting to be felt, the coming months are likely to see even clearer evidence of a labor market slowdown. Now, the negative impact of tariffs only starting to be felt, we'll see because the numbers keep changing. But what happened over those past few months since Liberation Day was Trump's own doing. But of course, tonight he's firing the messenger.
It's just with every little bit more detail that you learn about things relative to Donald Trump's decisions, it just lets you know he's just flying by the seat of his pants. It's all reactive. He's a reactionary. Rather than actually implement good economic policy, he damages it and then wants to fire the people that are pointing out, hey, you really shit the bed here, bro. Oh, you're fired. You're fired. You can't show the truth. You can't tell the truth. You can't report reality. No, not in the Trump administration. You're going to lose your job. The good news is a lot of people, even Republicans, are like, dude, this is not good. So every authoritarian move that Donald Trump makes each and every time, there's a certain faction of Republicans that are starting to wake up to the damage that's going to be done, to the fact that it's very likely Donald Trump's going to try to not leave. If he's still alive at the end of this term, he's going to try to not leave. He's going to try to stick around and stay in the White House past a second term. It seems to me. But one of the reasons we know that, one, we know he's stupid because we can hear him, we can see him. We have an understanding based on a long history with Donald Trump. But one of the other reasons is Donald Trump does this thing, like even about the cartoon with Jeffrey Epstein. He's like, I didn't do it, but look, a lot of people did that. But if you didn't do it, you wouldn't try to defend that it was done. And that's what he's doing here. He's like, look, these numbers were fake. Well, you know what, though? They weren't even that bad. So why would they fake them to hurt you? If they were going to hurt you, they would fake them in a big way to make it really bad. Instead, it's just, less good than we thought it would be. Watch him really kind of tell on himself here.
The markets today are up and down. Today is tariff day. Today was an important day, but you've had another incredible week that doesn't get the attention it probably should. There were several A-list events this week. The GDP numbers were great. Right. We had a surplus in June. Inflation is, I think, 2.4%. What's your message to Americans who might be concerned about paying more, perhaps even in the short term, for things that they need?
Well, before the message, I have to say that I think that these numbers were incorrect today. Not that they were horrible. I've seen much worse numbers than this, but right. I think that these numbers were incorrect today because nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw the smaller numbers not only announced, but going back and restating her numbers because she made a mistake. You know, that was the bigger numbers. So I think they're wrong.
And why, pray tell, you may ask, are you going to take the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics word over Donald Trump? Donald Trump clearly has a stranglehold on logic and reason and mathematics. He knows what the number should have been. Why would I think that? Well, it's because in the same interview that we've been watching and listening to clips from on Newsmax, Donald Trump talked about exactly how adroit he is at numbers, just how skillful and knowledgeable he is about math. Here you go.
And I think we're going to be very successful fairly soon. We'll have drug prices coming down by 500, 600, 800, even 1,200%.
You heard it there, folks. 1,200%. Your prescription prices are going to be lowered so much, the pharmacy's going to be paying you to pick up your prescriptions, to pay for your drugs. So that guy who doesn't know basic arithmetic, that guy we're supposed to rely upon for accuracy, that's the guy who fired the person who is the statistician, who is the expert in this field. He knows more than her. He knows more than the Fed chair about where the interest rate should be. The guy who thinks he's going to lower drug prices 500 million %. I mean, what are we doing here? Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this, what I think is an important conversation. We can have it in the comments below. You can also call my voicemail line and leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great weekend. If you're in an area that is overheated with extreme dangerous heat, take care of yourself, stay cool, be safe. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.